Hello and welcome to the monthly Melts Off topic for the month of April 2022. Uh, for this month, I got to choose our off topic.
Yep.
Um, this month, I came up with one that's been puzzling me lately, and that is suffixes.
Okay.
You know, the
Suffix.
yeah.
The thing at the end of your name.
Yeah, I was trying to pluralize it, which I don't know. I guess that'd be suffixes. Um, and, I was pondering that lately, mainly because there's a lot of people in sports that are juniors,
Yeah.
or in wrestling, there's people that have the same like Ted DiBiase Jr. and whatnot.
Yeah.
And when we used to do the thing for Tom at the game table, my announcer was senior, junior, the third.
Yeah.
So it got me thinking: what are the rules to suffixes?
I don't think there really are.
Well, like you don't normally see women with that, but I looked that up, and it's not gender based, so you can have Mary Wilson the second, Mary Wilson the third,
Okay.
and so on. But my thought was, what happens if Mary Wilson Jr. gets married?
Well,
Does Mary Wilson the third become Mary Wilson Jr. then? Does she move up in the ranks of the Mary Wilson sisters?
I don't know.
See?
I mean, did you look this up?
I no, because if I looked up the answer, then I would have this as an off topic. These are questions that are probably answered, but I thought, well, maybe this is something you would know, and
Why would I know this?
maybe our community of chocolatiers, good name for them, probably. Maybe they know. Maybe we have a person that watches our channel that's a professional namologist, genealogist, person that masters in names. You know, so because I first thought, oh, maybe this is something that's purely gender based because you never see it for females, and then they point out, it's not gender based at all. So you can have all the female juniors, the thirds, fourth, etc. that you want. But then when I got to that question with would Mary Wilson the third move up to second, got me questioning about like different scenarios. Like, I guess you figured out something. So
Well, there's actually a little chart here,
uh-huh.
And this is interesting.
Okay.
So the example they use, and this is just male.
Okay.
I'm going to look up female too.
Okay.
So the guy they use is Barnabas Ludwig Johnson,
Okay.
who's the first.
Yeah.
So Barnabas Ludwig Johnson has Barnabas Ludwig Johnson the 2nd and Barnabas Estrado Johnson.
Okay.
He's not the second.
Well, yeah, because it's a different name.
Okay? So even though both his kids could be Barnabas Johnson, only Barnabas Ludwig Johnson is the second.
Correct.
Now, Barnabas Ludwig Johnson has Barnabas Ludwig Johnson, who becomes the third.
Correct.
Okay? So he was born, and the year they use here is 1972. Now, Barnabas Estrado Johnson has a son, Barnabas Ludwig Johnson, who actually becomes the fourth.
Correct.
Even though he's not the son of Barnabas Ludwig Johnson III. Because he was born in 74, they're using. And then Barnabas Ludwig Johnson IV has Barnabas Ludwig Johnson V.
Okay.
So here, Barnabas Ludwig Johnson III and the fourth would be cousins.
Okay.
And Barnabas Ludwig Johnson III would be the uncle to Barnabas Ludwig Johnson V. Not father and grandfather.
Well, see, that brought up my second question. I was going to give you, like the case with the George Foreman's.
Yeah.
So,
but they're all his children.
Yes, but his children then start naming themselves George Foreman's. So it just goes on who's born first. It's a ticket system.
Yes, according to this, yes.
But that's just a picture. That's not research behind that. You just look. I'd like to see research behind that picture. Because my argument was, because this brings up back to the days of Gamel Tape. Gamel Tape. The game table racing league when I was Senior Johnson.
Senior, Junior,
the third. And I had my son who was Senior, Junior.
The fourth?
No, because I named him myself, so I named him Senior, Junior, the third, Junior, making myself Senior, Junior, the third, Senior. Could I add a suffix into my kid's name, therefore starting another line?
I don't know. But here's another. You're way out of left field.
Well, no, I'm saying because
so if a man has a nephew named after him,
okay,
then the uncle gets the first number suffix and the nephew gets the second. But if the uncle then has a child of his own, also the same exact name, then his own son takes the third number. So I could be Doug Beatty Sr.
Yeah.
If you had a kid and named them, well, it'd be Douglas Richard Beatty. And then if you had a kid and named him Douglas Richard Beatty, I would be Senior. Mm-hmm. He would be Junior. Mm-hmm. And then if I had a kid and named him Douglas Richard Beatty, he'd actually be the third.
Correct.
Even though he'd be my son because of the way they were born. So I guess technically it doesn't go. It's not based on direct lineage. It's based on when you're born into the family.
Yeah, it's a first come first
serve
name basis.
There apparently are rules about this.
But then my question becomes, that gives me power over your name at that point. As your family member, I'm like, I'm going to make you a Senior because I'm naming my kid after your name.
Whoa.
So all of a sudden, I've forced the suffix upon you.
So apparently, I could have a kid. So again, we're going to go here to, in the example, Beavis Winston Purple.
Okay. Has
a kid, Beavis Winston Purple. Mm-hmm. And then he has a little brother that they would name Beavis Wilford Purple.
Okay.
Or no. So the guy's name's Beavis Winston Purple. Has a son he names Beavis Wilford Purple.
Okay.
Has another son he names Beavis Wilford Purple.
Okay.
So the older one would be Beavis Wilford Purple the first. The other would be Beavis Wilford Purple the second.
Correct.
Even though they're brothers.
Well, yeah. That's just the rule of naming. He wouldn't be a Senior, he'd be of the first, like royal families that you see in monarchs. You're Earl Grey tea of the first, Earl Grey tea of the second.
If you pass away, we're going back to Barnabas Ludwig Johnson.
Okay.
If Barnabas Ludwig Johnson has a son, so he's Junior.
Correct.
So there's Barnabas Ludwig Sr., or Barnabas Ludwig Johnson Sr., Barnabas Ludwig Johnson Jr.
Correct.
When Barnabas Ludwig Johnson Sr. dies, he is no longer Barnabas Ludwig Johnson Sr. He becomes Barnabas Ludwig Johnson the first, and Barnabas Ludwig Johnson Jr. becomes Barnabas Ludwig Johnson the second.
Well, he was always the second.
He was a junior. But you no longer become junior, you become the second. Okay. So technically, Dale Earnhardt Jr.
is Dale Earnhardt the second. Yes. So all his merch is wrong. And you should point that out to him in a scathing email.
This is sort of fascinating.
It's exactly. That's why I named my person Senior, Junior, the third.
Whoa, okay. So this really gets interesting. So Barnabas Ludwig Johnson has a son, Barnabas Estrado Johnson. This is the other dude's brother.
Okay, so the brother's son.
So Barnabas Ludwig Johnson has a son, Barnabas Estrado Johnson. He has a son called Barnabas Ludwig Johnson.
Okay.
Who would be the second.
Correct.
Then he has a son, Barnabas Ludwig Johnson, who becomes the third. Correct. When the original Barnabas Ludwig Johnson passes away, he's still the first, but then the Barnabas Ludwig Johnson the second becomes Barnabas Ludwig Johnson Sr., and then Barnabas Ludwig Johnson the third becomes Barnabas Ludwig Johnson Jr.
Okay.
So I guess you actually stay the same, second and senior and third and junior. So are you then technically Barnabas Ludwig Johnson the second, or senior the second?
Not
Barnabas Ludwig Johnson the third, junior.
As long as as long as my fictional character's
Whew.
father was still alive, it's fine.
But once dead, senior and junior suffixes can't be used. Man.
Okay.
Okay, so once, whew, man, there's way too. Thank goodness.
There's rules to names.
Thank goodness I'm not a junior, senior, second, or third.
Because then you eventually, at one point, you have to change your business cards.
There are 10 different rules here.
I can believe that.
Rule 1, parent and child with same name equal junior and senior.
Makes sense.
Rule number 2, in order to use suffixes, names must be exactly the same.
Okay.
Rule number 3, for more than two same named individuals, use Roman numeral suffixes. That's where you get 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
You know, I, IV.
It's weird that they forced the rule of Roman numerals. You just can't use the English 2 and the
Rule 4, senior, junior only apply to living parents and children.
Okay.
Rule number 5, Roman numeral suffixes are allowed to skip generations. Rule number 6, senior and junior Roman numeral suffixes can be used together.
Okay.
Rule number 7, once dead senior and junior suffixes cannot be used.
Okay.
Rule number 8, same named uncles and nephews can use Roman numeral suffixes.
Okay.
Rule 9, even cousins can use Roman numeral suffixes. Numerals go in order of birth.
Okay.
Rule 10, chronologically determines order of Roman numerals. So chronologically.
Yeah.
Rule 11, same name siblings can use Roman numeral suffixes. Rule 12, females can use suffixes but typically don't.
I told you they could.
Because they use that Beavis Winston Purple was married to Angelique Faversham Purple, who then had a daughter, Angelique Faversham Purple.
And she be
Came the second.
Not junior?
Nope, the second. Females can use suffixes, but typically don't. So I guess she could become junior.
Yeah, and her mother would be senior.
So those are the 12 rules.
Which makes me now wonder if there's a feminine version of senior and junior.
Wow, then you get like old school with master and
But that's still-
Mercers and
But that still didn't answer the original question of this whole video. If Mary Winslow, the second and third, would marry, does the third become the second if the second is no longer around?
no. You don't just move up. Well, apparently you do.
Exactly. So if Mary Winslow would marry like Greg Bob, because I'm picking normal names on like these things, and she became Mary Bob, then Mary Winslow the third would become Mary Winslow the second. Because Mary Winslow the second would have never existed
How
then.
do name suffix work for women?
There you go. I mean, you could have said it loud. It's not like they don't know you're looking it up.
Well, they came up with how to make socks for women.
True.
How do name suffixes work for women?
It probably gives you the same answer, where it gives you like Queen Elizabeth II as their most famous version. Which I don't think
Apparently
suggests.
they use tricks.
Yeah.
So here's a whole question. Can a woman be a junior or senior? Apparently there are 22 things to this. What is it called when a daughter is named after the father? What should I name my princess? How do I name my daughter after my dad? Can you give your child a son? Holy cow.
I guess a daughter could be named after her dad. I mean, actually used to be a male's name for the longest time. That's how you get men that
Can
go
a daughter
by
be a junior?
Ash.
Girls took the last names of their husbands when they got married. Hold on. Girls can also give the suffixes junior and the second, but it's not as common as it is with boys. It was sometimes done in generations ancestors, but never became widely used as it is with boys, since girls took the last names of their husbands when they got married. Junior is actually genderless. Just simply means younger.
Yeah, I guess that's...
What are female junior called? Although there are instances of daughters who are named after their mothers and thus use the suffix junior. Well, Anna Eleanor Roosevelt Jr., or after their grandmothers, suffix the second. It's not common.
So see, I learned that junior is genderless.
How do you convert junior sizes to women? Well, we don't need that. How do you get How do you get senior in your name? In many words, yeah, I don't know. Now,
wasn't one of the questions that I answered in that article, can you just add a suffix to people? Because that'd be something I'd be interested too.
You just want to become like
Timothy
Beatty.
Well, like I know I could do it if I
third.
Well, no, I would have to pay for it at this point. But if like I had a kid and be like, you are now Timothy Beatty the 5th, and they're like, where's 2 through 4? I've just named you the 5th. Kind of the situation.
I don't think one of the things was, can you just give yourself that? It's not one of the things.
It's not one of the options.
Can you just make yourself a junior?
Yeah.
Can you just make yourself a senior or junior?
Now I'm sure if I looked back in our family tree long enough, somebody was probably named Timothy Beatty. The problem is I don't know if they would have my same middle name.
It's all about like becoming senior and junior developers.
Yeah.
I don't know. So there you go. The rules.
The loosely based rules. I mean, you just look. You did no research besides going on.
Ask the internet.
Yeah, you didn't fact check.
Isn't that how we do it nowadays?
There was no fact checking in there, so we're just going off of people that went with like Ludwig von Purple III.
If Mary Wilson Sr. passes away, does Mary Wilson Jr. become senior?
Well, yeah,
all it's giving me is Mary Wilson of the Supremes.
Because it would follow the same rules as the men. But my thing was, it's not that she died, it's that the second got married and changed her name. So now this no longer falls the lady.
Well, then actually you lose your junior status.
Well, yeah, because
you would be senior, you just lose your junior.
Well, no, because the third would bump up.
No.
Yeah.
This isn't like...
Because the second one...
Because, like, when you're the first and second,
the second...
you don't move up in that hierarchy.
The second cease to exist. They're not dead, but they don't exist anymore. By namesake, that person is dead.
No.
So the third bumps up
No,
in the
because they didn't in the Roman numeral way.
Okay, so then we go from senior, who would still be alive, junior, who would be dead, and then the third would still remain the third.
They're not dead.
Name-wise, they're dead.
They just changed their name.
Their name has died. They are alive. Their name is dead.
Well, no, because there are women that... So it would be their maiden name, so it's still there.
Correct, but legally, if they change it for tax reasons, blah, 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 voting,
But they hyphenate it.
Well, then it's still not the same, because it's based off
But then, so that if they'd have kids and then they name their kids the same with the hyphenated name, they could become. Does that then start a new line?
Because if she would get married, she's now like Mary Wilson Estrada. She wouldn't be Mary Wilson Estrada Jr.
But if they had another daughter and named it that same thing,
she'd become senior, and the kid would become junior.
But then what about like the Mary Wilson? She had a sister, Mary Wilson, who was just older, and
she would be the third yet because she didn't move up, even though I claimed senior died or the second did, and you didn't.
The name changed.
Correct. Senior would remain until they died, and then the third would become the first, or senior. The middle child, name who changed, wouldn't exist, theoretically named. And then anything that branched off of that would be just continuance.
So if you were completely lost in all this logic...
I understood this perfectly.
I couldn't follow that one bit. If you could follow that, let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
If you know the rules to
Suffixes.
all this.
Next month it gets harder. Prefixes.
Yep. Well, nowadays that is harder.
Exactly.
Because, of all the Mr., Mrs., Doctor, him, her.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And all that. But, so, if you understand anything of what we were trying to talk about today, put it in the comments. If you are a junior, a senior, a third, any one of those.
And make sure to write third in Roman numerals. That's apparently the rules. I don't want to see any squiggly threes.
Or written out.
Yeah, none of that. It says Roman numerals. That's apparently a word law.
See,
word laws.
At this point, if I'd be like that far down the branch, I want either to be like the 5th or the 4th, the 5th, like the 9th, 10th, 11th. I want some cool looking Roman numeral.
Yeah. If anything else, you should get onto the Twitter right now. Find Dale Earnhardt Jr. Bug him. Say he's wrong. He's now Dale Earnhardt II.
Yeah.
Stop lying to us, racing man. And any other racing juniors out there, they're all lying to us if their papas are gone.
So Ricky Stenhouse Jr., his dad is still alive.
You gotta look up all the juniors and stop telling them to lie to us.
Yeah.
They be the seconds. They gotta learn to live with it. They avoided their whole life coming in second being race car drivers. Now that's what they are.
Yeah. But anyways, again, if you have
An off topic.
an off topic, if you understood what we talked about, if you have a suffix in your name, if you understand the rules, if you had any idea what he was trying to describe,
I described it perfectly. I use normal names.
let that in the comments. Do hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, follow us on all our other social media, and is that everything?
That's everything. As always, stay sweet.